Hey guys, Mark Pearson here again, bringing you PyDeform 4.0. Let's check it out. Here's your interface. This is the default, and there you go, 4.0. Let's go ahead and dock it in the interface right here, and let's show you how it works. We've got an instruction button. Click that, and it'll bring up the instructions on how to use the plugin at its basic level. And you've got a layout button. Choose layout, choose orientation, and an update orientation. And here are all your deformers you can choose from. When you hover over them, you get a tooltip, shows you what it is. And let's show you how it works. Bring in a cube, resize it, and we will move it away from the world origin just to prove how the plugin works. Rotate it, give it some crazy rotation. Select it, and let's give more subdivisions. Let's go 20. And change our display to shading with lines so we see them. And now we'll show you how the plugin works. If you don't select your object, I'll show you what happens. Click a deformer. It tells you have to choose an object first. So select the object, add a deformer, and it will add it and resize it and position it to your object that you have selected. It adds the object as a child. As you can see here, it takes the size. It also takes the position from the parent object. You'll see the 0, 0, 0. Alright, so that adds a bin to the object, and it is ready to use. You don't have to mess with it, don't have to do anything with it. Now, if you don't like the way the button is, or the deformer is facing, you can choose to update it. So let's zero this out. And let's give it a little bit just to kind of demonstrate. You'll see the y-axis. Select your deformer and choose the update orientation, and there you go. It flips it to minus y. Okay, if you don't want minus y, you can choose any of the others. We've got plus x, update, changes the deformer. Plus z, update, changes the deformer. Minus z, update, changes the deformer. So you can adjust this on the fly, and it also will adjust the size if you happen to manually change the size of your object. Alright, let's check out, and you can see you can add as many as you want. Just select your object you want to add them to and add away. Get some crazy abstract stuff going on as you layer these deformers in. Use it however you wish. And there you go. Let's delete all these and let's show you another feature. Alright, let's get recentered. This one is new, FFD. Everybody was asking for this, and it's here now. So we've got an FFD dialog. Asks you to select grid points. I'll show you that in a second how that works. So let's click OK. Adds the FFD, resizes it, positions it, and there are your grid points. Okay, 3, 3, 3. Let's delete it, and whoops, sorry, forgot to select the object first. Select it, add an FFD. So let's choose maybe 5, 6, and 7. Click OK, and there you go. If you select the FFD, you've got 5, 6, and 7. So there you go. It's easy to use. If you select the deformer of the FFD deformer, go to point mode. You can then select any points of that deformer, pull them out, tweak them, and it deforms your object. So that's really handy, especially when it comes to maybe character modeling. This is great for eyes, but you can select and move around, do whatever you want with those points, and your object doesn't get modified. There you go. There you go. Awesome. So let's check this out. Let's delete that. And let's switch over to this other scene. I mentioned character modeling. Here's an eyeball, just a sphere with a texture, and we add an FFD to it. Select some grid points. Let's go 5 by 5 by 5. Click OK. And there you go. Fits the object. Select your FFD, go to point mode, and get your live selection tool. Let's check it out from the front. We've got it perfectly fitted to our object. We Control A to select all the points in point mode. Let's squeeze it down. get more of an eyeball shape. Let's go to side view. This happens to be the right. And let's get the live selection. Select all these over here. Shift select all these over here. And let's squeeze those edges down a little bit. Oops, I forgot to only select visible elements checked off, so it goes all the way through. Hit T for scale, scale those edges down, and now we have an eyeball shape. Okay? And what's cool about this is, well, never mind the texture. That's an old texture I just happened to throw on this little sphere here, so it doesn't wrap. But what's cool about it is that you can then select that object and hit Alt-G to group it. Move your FFD out from underneath the sphere and have it as a sibling of that object. It still affects it, as you can see. But then you can select your object and, as an eyeball, turn it, and it maintains that shape that the FFD deforms it into. So if you're doing a character model and you don't want to model the eye, you can add an FFD to a sphere, get the shape you want, and then rotate that object as long as it's a sibling of the deformer, and it keeps its shape, stays in the socket, don't have to worry about it. So that's really handy. All right, let's undo, and let's delete all these. And now I want to show you the choose layout. This has changed. So here's our default layout. It's in a grid. You can dock it. Let's go to horizontal layout. Asks you what size, okay? What size do you want the deformer box to be? Choose 1000, click OK. Would you like to make it a default? Let's check no for now, and there you go. There's your horizontal layout. It's 1000 units wide. You can dock it up here, and there you go. Now if it doesn't go all the way across, cool thing is choose horizontal layout again, resize it to 1500, click OK. Let's check no here, and there you go. It fits a little bit better. If you want to fill the space, go back to the choose layout, choose horizontal, and let's choose maybe 1700. Click OK, and let's choose no, and there you go. Fills up the layout and nicely docked. You can hide it, control click, there you go. Alright, so that stays in your user interface right there. Let's undock it for now, and let's choose the default. Let's choose no on the set preferences. Goes back to your default preference. Now let's choose vertical layout. Okay, what size? Same deal. Type in a number, 500, click OK, and let's choose yes this time, and there you go. There's your layout. You can dock it right there. Dock it anywhere you want, because you can tell it what size you want it to be. Very handy, very flexible. This happens to be where I keep it docked in my user interface. So now, if you go to customization, save as startup layout, let's click that, and let's now close Cinema 4D. Click close. And no, I don't want to save, no. Okay, and reopen Cinema 4D. Boom, there's the layout. It remembers your settings, and voila, that's very cool. How we're doing that is with a preference file. So if we reopen PyDeform, it remembers that preference and it will keep it, and it now stays open as a part of your layout. Very, very cool, very handy, very, very flexible. So let's go to horizontal and maybe 1700, click OK. And yes, I want to remember that as my default. There you go. If I place it here, shrink that window back up, window customization, save as startup layout, and close Cinema 4D again, and reopen Cinema 4D. There it is. It remembers that layout for you. So very nice new feature, and I think that's going to help quite a bit. So let's go back to default, and yes, I want to save that as my default layout. Let's go ahead and click no just for kicks. Let's undock it. There's the default, and let me show you where the preferences are. It's in your applications folder, max on your version, in the plugins. If you go down to PyDeform, we have a preference file, preference folder, and here's your preference file. It's a text file. Saves 3 lines of text for you, the layout, the size, and saves it in this text file. Now you can open it and you can edit it, but if you do, let me give you a word of warning, it will break the plugin. So if we save that without that word horizontal in there, we close that. Let's minimize this, close PyDeform, and let's relaunch Cinema 4D. Let me show you how this says plugin not found. That's because you changed that preference file. So do not change the preference file manually, because the plugin will not launch. You can, however, go back in if you happen to erase it and retype in default, hit enter, make sure they're in 3 separate lines, save it, close it. Let's minimize this and let's quit Cinema 4D and relaunch it again. There you go. So if you happen to do that, it's an easy fix, but I would modify all of your preferences via the plugin and not manually, so that we don't mess anything up. So that's PyDeform 4.0. I hope you guys like it. A lot of work went into this little update. Took me a while just because I've been busy. But we've got the FFD, we've got a default layout, we've got a horizontal and vertical. We can set our preferences, and it gets a lot more user-friendly and very handy for your workflow, because it can be docked and saved into a layout, and it remembers that. So we'll set vertical, happens to be my favorite, and set a size, click yes, and dock the plugin. And if it happens to push your interface off the screen, just go back in and resize it down. As you can see, it cut off my interface. Go to vertical, bring the size down a little bit, click OK, set it as the default, and there you go. So, very handy. Hope you guys like it. Worked hard to get these new features implemented. Be sure to save it as your startup layout so the plugin remains docked. So that way when we quit and reopen Cinema 4D, it's there when you need it. So, very cool, very flexible. I hope you guys like it and enjoy. Thanks.